This is for posterity. This is going into the history books, everybody, okay?
I love it. I love it.
All right.
Turn my phone off.
Peace and blessings, everybody. Welcome. This is very lovely. This is very lovely.
We cute. Everybody cute.
Everybody is super cute.
I totally agree. We're getting our insecure on early. I'm loving everything that's happening right now. I love it. Well, let me see. We have to kick all of this off right. My brother, first of all, let's just welcome you and everybody to episode 50 of We Come From Bad News. Now, before we dive into all of our topics, before we give all of our introductions and everything that we do, let's just talk a little bit about where we are in terms of, look at you looking good over there, Mel. Let's talk about a little bit of where we are and kind of how we got to 50 right now real quick. So this is our 50th episode. In numerology, 50 represents personal freedom, the same type of personal freedom that inspired my brother of many, many years, my friend of many, many years, my partner in crime, Yaze, to give me a call up one day and say, we're going to start a podcast. We're going to talk about music, culture, life, and everything in between. I've got a theme song already. I just need you to help me fill in some content, do your thing, and let's build it. And from that time period, he and I have shared many conversations, absolutely 50 episodes, around a variety of things involving our life, our family. We've had an opportunity to share things with each other that we didn't know about. We had an opportunity to tell the world who we are. We are also building a big catalog of information that our children will be able to listen to for many years to come to understand their parents' perspective. We hope to continue growing this and all that stuff like that. So I'm happy to be able to introduce our 50th episode by taking us back to our powerful point, to our powerful source. In the past, we had an episode called Woke with Bad News, where we brought the couples, the wives together, Yaze's wife, Mel, my wife, Latrice. This particular week, we're going to do it even bigger. We've got Yaze, we've got Mel, we've got ourselves, and then we've got Seun, Big O from In the Black podcast with his very powerful woman, Yinka. She's on with us. Yay! So we have three.
Looking so lovely in the blue.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we have three powerful couples. We have three powerful couples on this particular call where we're going to talk life, we're going to talk marriage, culture, and everything in between. So welcome, everybody. Good evening. Let's get into the Saturday night shenanigans. What's going on?
Yay!
Al's got too much energy.
We also have a lurker here. We have a lurker here, too.
Okay. Lurker, welcome to the show. All right, cool. Now I want to be. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What you say?
That is Shelly.
Lurker have a name.
That is Shelly. That is our good sister friend who watches our kids sometimes, and I know her from work. And it's awesome. It's very rare that you make friends at work that actually translate into after hours relationships. But there are only 48 black people in Los Angeles. So it's all right.
Had me a little bit frightened at first. I said, there's a black person in your house.
I didn't even see her.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, initially I thought she was Mel. I was like, hey, there's Mel in the back. And I said, okay, that is not Mel. Okay, it's just somebody back there. Well, welcome, Lurker. We're happy to have you on, too. Now, I want to be sensitive of time, but at the same time, I want us to have a good time. So I'll go ahead on and start it to what we call our segment, The Bottom Line. The Bottom Line basically represents us talking about current trending topics, coming from a perspective of people from the bottom of Hampton Roads as we know it to be the bottom. All right, let's get it moving. Teresa's favorite topic. Cardi B and Nicki Minaj, the highest levels of fashion. They acting a fool.
I think I'm going to go get some coffee.
Yeah, this will probably be the section where she might check out for a quick second. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Cardi B and Nicki are acting a fool. It basically, in the highest levels of fashion, just showing all kinds of just shenanigans and wildness. Your perspective on the madness. Let's go. Who wants to jump in?
I don't know that I necessarily have a perspective. I am
Okay, so you have a perspective then. You just said you were Team Cardi B, so you have a perspective. Let's go. Okay, all right. So if you're Team Cardi B, do you feel like it? Do you feel like?
Why is that surprising to you?
From the Bronx.
We're learning all kinds of stuff today.
To you?
Go ahead. Do you feel like
perspective-
Nicki has been antagonizing her? Go ahead.
Yes, I feel she's been poking the bear a little bit and she got caught. Deserved getting caught, actually.
Okay.
Come for someone who's ready to throw down. You need to be prepared that if your paths cross, might.
I couldn't agree with you
Cardi
more.
on this one.
Vengeance.
Nicki brought this on. Oh.
There you
I
go.
agree.
So
I
they
agree.
basically, Cardi B came up to her and said, "Who's
I
realer,
will do
me
this
and you?"
no matter where we are. High fashion, regardless. I will do this.
Okay.
And-
All right. Go ahead, Mark.
Cardi has been known. I mean, I didn't really watch the show when she was on. Which one was it? Hip hop something.
Love it, hip hop.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
Love It
on
Hip-
all the reunion shows, she stayed throwing shoes at the ladies who said things she didn't like. So it's really completely unsurprising to me that she would throw her shoes at Nicki regardless of wherever they are.
No, I wasn't shocked at what happened. I more so just was actually pretty much Cardi B kept the same energy.
Yeah, she did.
She's very consistent. As far as I
Yeah,
can tell.
she's been pretty consistent. But I'm kind of on this particular issue. I am Team Cardi B because I feel like Nicki has been antagonizing this girl and throwing sneak shots at her, and then hiding her hand, and then trying to switch the narrative around in public. And then when that person approaches you, forwardly, not on Twitter, coming to you face to face and saying, "Hey, do we have a problem?" You're going, "No, we're good." And then as soon as they walk away, you're throwing more shots at her. You made an entire album about Cardi B, basically throwing shots at her in pretty much every other song, but then you want to look at her and go, "Why are you coming for me?" I'm not feeling it.
I think it's crazy too.
I'm neither Team Cardi nor Team Nicki, but I think Cardi needs to wake up. If 50 taught us anything, this is all about record sales, my man. Let's manufacture the beef and let's sell some records and let's make some money. Let's go on tour. Let's make some money. People aren't fighting. These artists ain't fighting. Come on, man.
But Cardi is fighting. That's the thing.
I was going to say, actually, she really is actually fighting.
Cardi is ready to fight.
She got a knot on her head, so she was
And
actually a real thing.
Cardi
right?
really feels like personally offended if Nicki mentioned the baby. So
Yeah.
it's very personal. This is not just about, oh, you're not a good rapper or you're this or you're that.
agree.
She's
beef is real.
perceiving it as a personal beef against her and her family. She is a new mother. And I also
Totally
think
agree.
that, Cardi gets a bad rap because she's been working hard and people have all this judgment about how she came to be successful. But at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. She did sell a lot of records. And also, Cardi's like, 25? And Nicki's, 30 plus?
35.
I just think it's completely ridiculous.
She's
not
35.
that old.
She's
No, she's
Nicki
30.
is not-
She's
No,
35.
Nicki's like 30. No, yeah.
She's been
Nicki's
around for a
30 years
while.
old and she's acting like she's 25.
Yeah.
Right, and I think it's
I didn't get a
ridiculous.
chance. I didn't get a chance to weigh in on whose team I'm on. So allow me.
I
to.
did not. But just for the record, I'm not on either team. I just agree with Cardi in this instance. Go ahead, Yaze.
Okay, I am definitely in this instance on Team Cardi, but for a different reason. Not because I don't think Cardi was acting an ass, because she was definitely acting an ass, but.
Yeah, bona fide.
Yeah, she acting.
That's not new.
But that's not new. That's why we love Cardi. That's her brand. So, it is what it is.
Facts.
What I was disappointed by is that Nicki, when she got on Queen Radio and she started to do her inevitable rant on what had happened was, I was really disappointed by the fact that she put a special emphasis on acting a fool in front of white people, as opposed as if somehow the milieu exaggerated the offense. You know what I mean? Versus why do we pay a special attention to this sort of this white space versus having that same energy at a traditionally black space? You know what I mean? I don't know what the implication is there. You know what I mean? It just seemed a little suspect.
It's not necessarily about the implication, but once again, these white people, they eat up this ratchet behavior. They eat it up with a fork, with a spoon. They slurp it up with a straw. She knows what she's doing. That she's trying to sell records. She's trying to get this tour money. She's trying to do her thing. I can't fault her for that. Like, there's been plenty of artists that have already laid the groundwork. I just guess I guess you just messed with the wrong one. That's what you
exactly. I totally agree. All right, so the bottom line on that one, I think we are all kind of feeling the same way. Cardi is definitely acting a fool, but Nicki is not helping it. She's definitely staying the antagonist. We'll see how it works out. Moving on to another topic. Serena just all up in the news for doing stuff. We had the cat suit last episode, and this last one here, she got called out by the referee. She wasn't real happy about it. There were cartoons that were highly offensive. She was upset. All kinds of stuff. Serena, right or wrong about the stance she took in the U.S. Open?
I think we gotta let the ladies jump this one off.
I didn't say anything. I just said go. Whoever wants to. I didn't want to make the assumption that the ladies should answer. I just said go. I don't want no problems. Go.
I had this conversation earlier, and I think that she was right. I think that she is held to a higher standard, sometimes a double standard. But then at the same time, when you have her coach saying after the fact that, I was coaching her, that sort of undermines her position. So I can understand the passion that she brings. I love it. Everybody loves it. And I think that she's right for standing up for herself, especially being called a cheater. That's a loaded word, like in her profession, but even more so when you're a Black woman. Integrity is questioned like that. But then at the same time, coach sort of threw her under the bus and
so I definitely felt, well, first of all, I'm not a huge tennis fan. I only like Serena. But
I'm on the same boat as you, bro.
You gotta loaded that.
I'm watching for Serena and Venus only. Go.
But so I was confused. So I was confused by the existence of the rule that a coach couldn't give some sort of advice from the sidelines, because in every other sport that I'm familiar with, that's what the coach is paid to do, is to stand there and yell helpful shit until you start to act right. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was confused as to the crime. I'm like the Republicans when it comes to Trump and collusion. I'm like, is that a crime? Is that, I don't even know if that's actually an offense against anything in particular. So
I feel you.
So I was confused by that, but I was immediately drawn to, in my mind, the difference between how a John McEnroe, like from my day, was treated for throwing his racket around, yelling at people, basically peacocking, and Serena, who's doing nothing of the sort, who I saw the video, and she's just very, in my mind, politely addressing this white man. As you said, Yinka, she's not being belligerent or anything, and it just seems to be a very disrespectful move. It's only more ironic. It can only be made more ironic by the fact that Serena is playing against another black woman.
Right. All right.
Who people don't necessarily recognize as Black.
Right. Because of her heritage, and I see where both of you are coming from. Yeah, she's Haitian and Black or something like that.
Naomi always brings up. She consistently brings up that her father is Haitian. It's the media.
She said she was raised in a Haitian household.
Okay. Right.
Okay. Hey, I just saw an interview where she talks about her father and his reaction to her winning. Like, he's still very much involved in her life and as part of her tennis career. And my 2 cents is, I think Serena was right. I mean, even if, fine, if there's a penalty or whatever, then give her the penalty. But to pull a whole match is completely unheard of at the final levels of that game, and that has never been happened before. And as you said, whether it was John McEnroe or someone even more current, like, what's his name, Andy Roddick, who even tweeted himself, like, I ain't never got a whole match pulled as a penalty. So the idea of someone yelling or cursing out the ref or breaking their racket is not new, and this was a particularly harsh penalty for her at this level of the match, and it just tainted the whole thing, because you got the winner not even really able to celebrate her win because the whole stadium is in an uproar of what happened. And I thought Serena showed the utmost class, because she's still there encouraging the young woman who just achieved something really amazing against one of her heroes, and really just encouraging her to be proud and to lift her face up. That poor girl had her head down. crying.
He thought that they were booing her.
They were.
Well,
I mean, in a
was.
sense,
It
they
definitely
were.
robbed her of her moment. And
yeah.
she actually, and I love Serena to death, but she was beaten by this girl. And part of what happened, or a big part of what happened, definitely robbed this girl of her moment, her well-deserved moment. However, ladies and gentlemen, I have to kind of disagree with both of y'all to a point in terms of how she handled it. I was actually a tad disappointed in how she handled it. The fact remains that this particular ref is an asshole and is a stickler for the rules, regardless of gender.
This is not the first time he's done that.
It's well documented. So, and the fact is, she was receiving coaching, so she was wrong in terms of what she did. My issues with Serena, I should say the part where I'm disappointed in it, is I felt like she went too far. I felt like she could have expressed herself. I felt like she could say what she needed to say, but she kept going on and all of that. And I understand that you're passionate, and I understand that other people like McEnroe have done the same thing, but you are a queen and a champion. I hold you to a higher standard. So I feel like she can express herself, do that, but I felt like after a while she started taking it too far. And I feel like when she started screaming out sexism, for this particular instance, I just didn't feel like it was warranted. I didn't feel like it had anything to do with gender. I just felt like the guy's an asshole. He's a stickler for the rules. It's just going to happen. And I just felt like it was a little ill-placed in terms of where she put it, in terms of the sexism aspect. I understood where she was at. I understood her vitriol. I understood that she was upset. I understand her passion. I do think that, the guy was a little overboard in terms of it. But I felt like she could have handled it better as a transcendent champion. That's just where I'm at with it, though. But I love her. But that's just where I'm at.
don't. Al, strangely enough, I don't entirely disagree with you. I think two things can be true at the same time. I didn't know the background that the line judge was, notorious for some sort of a notorious stickler or something of that.
Yeah, he's like that.
I didn't realize that. Knowing that, I think that her outburst at the very minimum was like unstrategic, right?
I agree.
I am also, again, as Al mentioned, from the same place he is, and very Southern, and therefore, in a lot of instances, I guess a little bit conservative in terms of my respectability politics. I do always feel like when in public or when you're out there representing your people, unfortunately, as the situation has ordained, that you always want to try to show like what the civilized version of that is. And I think she did. I think she did. I'm not saying she did not, right? But I think in doing so, she had to accept the fact that she was making a choice to say, I would rather speak up than
that part right there. I do want to say two things.
Yeah.
If we know this line judge is a stickler, then I'm mad at her coach for doing anything that could be interpreted as coaching. That's on him. He started that fucking shit.
That's a good point too.
That's a great point.
That's an excellent point.
And then for him to throw her under
agree.
the bus is all bullshit. So I'm mad at him. He's got to cancel him. Second of all,
Facts.
second of all, I mean,
I
you know
agree.
what I mean? Like, how's she gonna get in trouble for something some other motherfucker
That
did?
you
Right?
did. Yeah, it's
That's
not her
on
fault.
him.
Because she's sitting there arguing her ass off. Hey, he ain't coached me nothing. And he going, yeah, I did. And,
That's fucked up too. So he's double canceled. And two, as a black woman who has worked in America, corporate America, et cetera, when she said, you owe me an apology, I said, get it, girl. Because in that moment, I felt like she was saying what women, and not just black women, but especially black women all over the country have been wanting to say for millennia. Because how many times have we been wronged? And knowing that even if you did something that could be corrected, the way they were coming at you was full of disrespect and demeaning.
Yeah, I hear you.
So when she said, you owe me an apology, I was here for it.
right on.
And I was grateful that even amongst that moment, she said, this is bigger than me just winning this match or presenting myself in a certain way. I'm standing up for what's right. And that's what she said. She said, I have a daughter. And I'm glad. I feel like when her daughter watches that, she'll be like, okay, Mom, I see you.
I think I resonate with that because I resonate with using any platform that you achieve and because she's already post prosperity. Serena has very few professional accolades to achieve or anything. She has nothing to prove, So in that sense, it's kind of like great. It's in the same way of Kaepernick. It's great to see someone who has risen to that level using their platform to speak up for future generations to set the standard for what it should be. And I do think it will be different. I agree. I think at the very least that guy is embarrassed. He tried it, and I don't think the public response is what he wanted it to be. Personally,
I don't think he's embarrassed at all. Don't forget that he actually got together with the rest of the line judge union, and they're planning to protest Serena Williams' game. So, like I said, I don't think he's bothered by it at all.
He's towing the company line, and the company is definitely riding with him, and that's why she got the fine and all of that. And it's just going to be what it is. And my advice to Serena in terms of the bottom line is, you know what? Win the game. Do what you need to do, and just know that you are a champion, and brush your shoulders off and let them try to do what you do. And win as best you can, and obviously try to win within the level of the rules. Play the game as you always have, my dear. That's it. Yeah. So that's the bottom line with that. All right, we're going to move on to some of the main topics here. Let's get into some marriage stuff right about now, because we got all this energy, all this good marriage, all this wisdom on the phone, all that stuff. All right, so this next particular topic we're going to call Fingerprints of Matrimony. Marriage, first impressions. Kind of your earliest, impressions of marriage. How did those particular images impact how you operate today? And what type of game film or footage are you kind of leaving to your offspring as it relates to marriage?
Wow.
In terms of that. Wow. It's a lot, man. We're going to talk about some stuff. When I say we're going to dig in.
I'm glad I didn't pay for that couples counseling because Al's going to handle it right now. Al's going to handle it. I don't know I was going to get this some free. Oh my goodness!
Listen, all right, I'm going to go ahead and kick the intro off, and then we're going to go ahead and kind of freestyle it. All right,
handle it.
Let's go. All right. I thought that the thing I do love about what we're doing right now is that all of us kind of come from different places in terms of that. Like myself, me and Yaze are more so, and me, Yaze, I'm sorry. Sorry. Real quick, Yaze, sorry, before we dive into this, on the live thing, you forgot to add Trees because she wants to be able to share it on her page. Can you add her real quick while we're talking? I'm sorry. She wanted to make sure. She said, wait a minute, I want to be able to share it on my live too. See, so I don't want no problems. Let's go ahead and get that straight first. I don't want no issues. You saw Yinka got him straight. Oh, and while we're taking this particular moment here.
I can only see half of
yeah, she's right there. Can you see?
Well, now.
There it is. Wow, look at that beautiful fro right there. Look at that beautiful fro. Now, speaking of that, I want to thank Yinka for being on the call. Now, first of all, because, I'm glad to be able to meet the woman behind the man, but also she prevented him from wearing what he wore last time, which was a shower cap. on our show.
Point of correction. Shower cap.
Okay. All right. I stand corrected. He was doing his version of the Bonnet Chronicles on We Come From Bad News. My apologies. So I'm happy she's on the show to help prevent that. And now look at her beautiful afros all around. All right, let's go back into this whole marriage thing real quick.
I'm not mad at you, Sean. I bet your afro is nice and moisturized. Okay, so I'm feeling you.
My mane is very lustrous.
You know what?
It looks like it's
great.
shining.
I love the aftermath of it. It was just that we didn't need to be a part of the ritual. That's all I was saying. That's all. All right. So anyway, we've got these three great couples that come from different places. Me and Yaze kind of come from the South, which that has its own level of history and tradition behind it. Mel comes from the West Coast, and obviously, Big O and his wife, have that mixture of being, from Nigeria, as well as, of course, their experiences here. So I thought it'd be great to kind of mix all that together to really talk about our first impressions of marriage. So which particular couple wants to dive in to say, what was your first impressions of marriage? Like, for instance, I initially had a single mom, and then she got together with my dad again, and then they got divorced. So I went like single, mom, marriage, divorce.
That's a good suggestion.
There you go.
It's a wonderful suggestion. Yes, keep going.
That was my life. Okay, all right. Well, let's go ahead and get some history then. I am, my mom had me when she was 16. I am a product of a teenage marriage. A teenage mother having a kid. Later on in life, my mother and father reunited. which was great. You know, I got a chance to be around them. They actually got married. They did it right. You know, they got together. I got a bike, a backyard. I went from the hood to doing good. You know what I'm saying? Things was all right. You know, transformed my whole life. Oh, fast forward to I was 16, 17 years old. Problems arose. And, you know, they decided that they needed to split. Moving on down, me and mom went back to the apartment life. Me and mom against the world. So what I saw during that time period was a variety of things. I saw my mother and father grow in different directions. I saw the different choices that my father made within his personal life impact our family. I saw my mother's growth. I saw my mother's regression. I saw how my mother was impacted by different things as well. And then I, of course, took all those different images. And then as I began to meet my wife, a significant other, I of course, took all that into play. How I run my household is an example of the things I didn't want to see with my mother and father. For example, my mother and father, in my opinion, they had good times and they did their thing. But I never felt like they really did a lot in terms of what I call family building, in terms of building those conversations with your spouse and your family to where you guys are a team, you're close-knit to the point where everything is we. I felt like sometimes we were just three different individuals who, I felt like there was love there and there was unity at different times, but it's nowhere near as close as the bond that I feel like Latrice and I have built with our children, to where we could talk about things. Things are not perfect by any stretch of it, but I do feel like there's a foundation there that I didn't have, that I got a chance to correct as a result of my parents' marriage kind of going their way. Who wants to jump in? Let's go.
Let me get it over with. I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing about no healthy marriages. I was the child. My parents divorced when I was 3 years old. My mother divorced my father because he cheated on her prolifically. And then when he...
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I didn't get a chance. I ain't add no details. You got all into the details.
I don't have anything. I don't have a few, you know.
I'm just picking with you.
No, and so then me and my mom were on our own, and she was very proud, so she didn't take any money, you know. So we were kind of ass out in downtown Newport News for a long time. And then when she finally got a government job, shout out to government jobs. I'm always a vociferous supporter of government employment. That is black reparations by other means, honest to God.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. My mom is about to hit 35 years doing the exact same thing.
My mom is living on a lifetime pension forever that I don't ever have to seriously worry about her on. I'm just like, she's kept, you know? So praise God on that.
Me and you both, bro.
So my mom was in a series of, like, you know, long and short-term relationships with various men who sometimes took the effort to try to, you know, pose as some sort of father figure or not. Sometimes it was healthy. I mean, I've been through crackheads. I've been through artists, painters. My mom was a very bohemian kind of spirit. She just did as she pleased. So when I met Mel, my idea of marriage is pretty fluid. It was just kind of like, don't leave. If you don't leave, then...
You're still married.
We're married.
Right.
Yeah.
So you took kind of more of an old
then
school
I'm assuming
approach,
we're together. If you don't leave, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
All right. I like that. All right, Big Go. You and your wife, I'm very interested in hearing your perspectives on it, because you guys bring kind of U.S. culture as well as, you know, some of the motherland to the table. So please jump on in.
For us, to be quite honest with you,
you were speaking on
that part.
Sorry.
That said a lot right there. That was a thesis. That was a thesis.
Right there. But you know what? He had the right reaction.
Yinka,
Yes,
this is
ma'am.
me.
Okay, always being spicy all the time.
This is me.
So,
Yinka giving you the ICU.
Go ahead, sir.
I honestly, as I got older, my parents, they're married to this day, but they've always had their problems. And to be honest with you, growing up, I honestly didn't think I was going to get married. I thought I was just going to be a single dude. I do. But, you know, life has other plans for you. And I met this wonderful woman when we were in college, and she changed my mind. I tell her to this day, if not for her, all I was doing was working full time, going to school full time, when I had time to be in the house, I'd lay in my bed and stare at my ceiling. And I told her if not for her, I'd probably still be laying in my parents' bed in their house, staring at the ceiling.
Wow.
She helped to save me. In all honesty, she helped to save me from myself. So
they've saved
I couldn't
us all,
have asked for
bro.
anything better.
They did.
Yeah.
All right, sis, tell us how much of that is bullshit. How much of that is real, and how much of that is bullshit? Okay.
It is not. It is
real.
not bullshit.
Okay. Right on.
That was one of the earlier conversations that we had in our relationship. We all bring baggage. So I'm kind of glad that we're talking about this topic. We've had this conversation how we both got married supposed to be and what it actually is while you're in it. But yeah, that is 100% not. He didn't have marriage on his mind, and I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
That'd be all of us. Yeah.
But did you have marriage on your mind when you met him?
It popped into my head that he was.
When we
first met, no. But
Right.
we didn't think that we were going to be together, to be quite honest with you.
It was going to be a summer fling, and then I was going to start, and I was going to back to. But eventually, I was like, I can marry. That was the thought.
How long did it take? How long was your courtship?
It was.
You can't say that on. No, this is being recorded. You can't.
It was.
There's some scandal. Pour the tea. Hey, wait a minute. I have to give you the rules of We Come From Bad News. The tea
From the
must
period
be
where you
poured.
guys met to the time where you actually where he proposed and you accepted, or vice versa. Courtship. Several years.
Okay.
Okay.
But don't get it twisted. There was some methodology to establish ourselves in a lot of different realms of actually committing. And like I said, even to that point, I was still kind of, I don't want to say apprehensive because that's not the word, but I was fearful. I was scared. Yeah. Like I said, I knew I saw my parents' relationship. I saw the things that they went through, and it sat in my heart. I didn't want that to be something for us. You know what I mean? Like to this day now, I'll tell you the truth. My dad, both my parents, till I got into college, both worked either 2 or 3 jobs. So we really rarely saw them.
Wow.
Yeah, they were too busy providing for the household.
I told myself, I said, when I get married and I have kids, I'm not going to be my parents. I don't do overtime for that very reason. They know not to look at me to be here extra. I'm going to be with my family. You know what I mean?
So those are the things that you put in
at
place
the same
as a
time,
result.
just like you guys probably, I mean, there's a cultural aspect to it as well. There's certain expectations or certain things that people expect of you to be as a man or as a woman or as a husband or as a wife. And you breaking those molds, I mean.
No, give him a tip.
Okay.
Sorry, we just got pizza. Sorry.
Go ahead, Trees, get on in here. Let's go.
Yeah, I really want to hear this. Go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead.
Do this.
Oh,
it's you.
what was the question?
All right. We were talking about just what was your first impressions in terms of marriage and in terms of how you moved towards it and how that impacted how you roll today.
Okay. So my parents were together for about 30 years. But they were never married.
Okay, gotcha.
So
Interesting.
Did that common law.
So because of that, they didn't really abide by the rules of marriage. They didn't have that piece of paper. So I grew up, mom had friends, dad had friends, so
I walked into this. I did. I walked right into this like, all righty, this is how they roll.
So I grew up.
So this was like one of these mythical open relationships, really. I mean,
Yeah, but I don't think they talked about it being like that. It just was like, so I grew up knowing that whatever I did with my mom, that stayed between me and my mom, and if I hung out with my dad, someone else was there, that stayed between me and my dad. So it was, but I always wanted to be married. And when I met Al, it was just natural.
We got along.
I was very attracted to his energy. And he was just,
that's some Badu shit right there. That's some Badu shit right there.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, that's right, because we got deep, damn it.
No, that's dope.
Connected.
She said his energy was correct. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah,
all right.
it was. And he always took care of me.
All right.
So the moment
Mel,
I met
is my
him, I was
energy correct?
asking him
I just want to know.
for money.
That's right. She wanted to be around me. That's right, man.
Yeah.
What was crazy is I wanted to be around her too. It was still, I didn't know. I tell her all the time, I didn't stand a chance with trees. I didn't understand the wave that was coming at me. I didn't even recognize. Of course, Yazi was. I didn't understand it.
I was there. I was
yeah.
driving
Yeah,
my mom's car, pushing my mom's whip with my year-old driver's license.
That's right.
Thank you.
Across
And the first person he came and picked up was his homie.
Across the bridge from Newport News to Norfolk, over that goddamn bridge, like 24 times a week. And I was happy to do it. I was happy to do it because I was in high school and he was in college, and my life was pathetic and awful. And all I could dream of was getting the fuck out of that podunk town, Newport News, and to a bigger city where I could realize, where people could realize and appreciate me for the genius that I am.
Damn right. Damn right.
That's right.
Damn right. And here we are today. Los Angeles, California has a jewel.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's how it is.
Unfortunately, Mel's inside distributing pizza to the children.
It's all good.
Or else she would comment on marriage as well.
We have an agile podcast here. It is all good. Now, Teresa, in terms of that, when I know your parents had basically a unspoken open relationship is basically what it seems like. Yes,
I do not want to say that publicly.
That's just what it is. I said unspoken.
I think it's fine. I think it's fine now because nowadays it's kind of normalized. We kind of accept sort of that all relationships are valid on the progressive side, I think. So I think your parents might have just been ahead of their time, man. Maybe they were just...
I was just going to say, maybe they were ahead of the curve. All right, Mel, we are so happy to have you back. We are happy that you
Sorry,
are
I have to
the
feed the
pizza
kids.
Everyone's going but you now. Everyone's going about
great.
you.
All right, so actually it is your turn. So what we were asking was, your first impressions of marriage and how that impacted how you operate and deal with Yaze, all that kind of stuff, or your household.
Oh, God. You have to answer all of that.
All of that. All of it.
I don't think I answered all
Great
of that.
detail.
Answer all of that.
That's all. We're not going to speak until you're done. Go ahead.
My parents separated when I was young. My dad, they're both immigrants, and now as an adult, I can see that my dad, as a black man in America in the 80s, was not able to really get where he thought he should go in terms of opportunities. And so he was an alcoholic, I think partially because of that. And then also he was a gambler and tried to, I think, make that quick money. And I think I could see how just perpetual disappointment and frustration. Now everyone talks about mindfulness and we all listen to Super Soul Sunday, and we talk about all of these ways that we can listen to our or use our struggles to kind of get through to the light, or whatever you want to call it. Well, my parents didn't know nothing about that. At least my dad did. So he took a lot of that frustration and anger out on my mom. So like the first 6 years was kind of awesome. I mean, really, I just remember him being an extremely charming person. A lot of his siblings also immigrated, so I was surrounded by family. And then, but once the struggles, particularly financial, really began to hit, a lot of that frustration, he carried around, he probably was depressed, and my mom had to shoulder a lot of the financial responsibilities. So it all kind of went downhill from there. And when I was 8, we had to leave. We had to pack up our shit and leave, without talking about it, without announcing it, and just kind of run away, essentially, I guess. And then my mom, she has dated in the 30 years since, but not really seriously. She doesn't, as far as I know, I mean, she could have a secret, but she doesn't have a boyfriend now. So for me, I really saw that marriages can fall apart, really. That's what I saw, that it's very difficult. And that, but I also saw, at least from the woman's perspective, that there is a certain baseline that you should accept, that you don't have to stay in a relationship that is abusive or, putting you or your children in any danger. And that, you can always find the strength and support to move forward. And now, single or not, my mom is like extremely happy. She's got a full life with her church community and her senior community. She's basically living her best life. So I would not be that surprised if it came out that she did have a boyfriend, and the fact that clearly she has meaningful relationships with both men and women, that it's not always, that also taught me that it's not always needing to be a sexual relationship in order to be fulfilled or to feel like you have love in your life. You can have meaningful personal relationships. And I think that if she decided, she would, and she may or may not even have one. She might not just be telling me about that. So for me, but that in and of itself, I mean, not that it didn't influence how we came together, but ours was so like thrown together. Didn't nobody know, what was happening. We literally got engaged over the phone because the insurance was like a mess to get when we're not married, and it was just like, it might have even been by text message. To get married.
If it wasn't, it is now. If that's not the case, I'm adopting that as the truth now.
It's very possible.
I love that. Our conversation, I think this was the proposal. Tree said, so listen, I think you want to go ahead and get married? I said,
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tell it right. Go ahead.
Tell it right, girl.
Go ahead, tell it right.
He skipped the first part.
I'm so sorry.
I'm pregnant again.
Oh, yes.
So you want to get married or what?
I forgot. We did it more the good times way. I'm sorry.
We were already living together with our first son, and we were happy. Clearly, because I was pregnant again.
Because we was doing it often.
Yeah.
We moved in October. I was pregnant again by December.
That's right. I was
right.
I remember that.
Similar and then we got married in April.
Yeah, we got married in April.
Yeah,
with right before the belly got like super big. So in true black fashion, our children were at our wedding. How about that?
hey, our first son was at our wedding.
1,000%.
And
that's how we do it.
It was 1,000%. Like that was the whole insurance thing. It was like the whole thing of getting care as a family unit without the marriage certificate. They make it really difficult. Actually, I don't know about any other state, but in California, it's a whole mess. More complicated. So to kind of smooth that out, and we again at the time we had a child, we were happy, and we said, well, let's just do it. So we did it, and I think we just continued to work through everything as it comes along.
Yeah,
that's all we've ever done,
and that's the way. But for me, just to kind of run this up, and we can kind of move to the next aspect of what we're doing. For me, a big thing, because I did have such a volatile relationship with my father, but me and my mom are like really good. Stability was a big deal for me. I knew I loved her. I just, as I tell her all the time, I had no problem with marriage. I just wanted to make sure I could feed us. In terms of that, I went from having one kid to having 3. I didn't mind having another kid, but I didn't know I was going to have twins. And Yazzie was around me at that particular time period. I was making no money.
I was scared for you, brother. I was scared for you.
Yeah, I know you were. And you told me, too. And I used to always look at you, and I gave you that fake bravery. Man, I'm going to be all right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm going to make it right.
I would just shake my head, and I'd be like, I think he's lost his mind. I think he's...
Yeah, and he did. Because he's like, yo, man, do you want all these kids right now? You good? I was like, no, it is what it is. But that was my main thing. I never had a problem with her. I just, in my mind... When you married a woman, even then, I was young, when you married a woman, you took care of her as well as yourself, as well as your family. That was a big deal for me. It still is to this day. So I felt like, okay, I don't want to get married until, I get it right. I had that in my head. Yeah. But then she approached me with reality like, hey, neither one of us liked the term baby mama in any way, shape, or form. Neither one of us wanted to be labeled as that. I know I didn't want to go through any paperwork that didn't have everything being uniform in terms of our names. I just didn't want to be that. I wanted my children to have something. And I said, at least at minimum, I was going to try. And I said, if it didn't work out, if we decided, we wanted to stab each other 10 years down the road, then, hey, at least we tried. And I can say, hey, I tried. So that's just how I kind of did it. And even to this day, a big deal for me is being able to support my family and having some level of us being close and a feeling of we're in this fight together. I'll be honest. It's 7 people in this house, and every day isn't good. Sometimes people are acting a goddamn fool. So sometimes I'm acting a goddamn fool. But overall, there's a deep love there, and there's a sense of community that I know will be passed along to our grandchildren and beyond. So for that, I'm grateful for the volatility that was my parents.
Please,
let's go.
Please.
I'm really happy to see that, in spite of all of our backgrounds, it's so interesting. It's like getting me in my heart right now. No bull.
Yeah, I love it. That was the intention, bro.
It's awesome to see how we've all put being married is a lot of work.
Yes, Lord. 24 hours a day.
And I commend each and every single one of you guys for being able to hold it down, because Lord knows, good grief.
Nobody tells you that like Chris Rock said. Actually, he gave a thesis on this in his last comedy stand-up, which is less a comedy show and more a thesis on what not to do in your marriage. And
totally agree.
He gives a thesis on the fact that being in a marriage is a service position. It is not I didn't get it until I realized that I am here to support Mel in all the ways. I just didn't get. It's just such an easy thing to miss until you realize, who the fuck else is going to do that then? You know what I mean?
Right.
This is
it's your job.
You don't have parents anymore. So you go yo, I'm looking for somebody on that. I'm looking for somebody on a very serious level to take a deep interest in the rest of my life.
Exactly.
And in exchange, I am to do the same.
Correct.
What Mel taught me is that being an only kid and having, being a mama's boy and all this shit, is that I came to this shit with a lot of selfishness. And so marriage for me has just been a gradual process of unlearning habits and tics that have protected me against the world or whatever, and allowing me to be more present for the family, because ultimately for me, I agree with you, it's all about stability for children, because these are the ones who can reinvent the situation in a way that we can't, because I am, as much as I try, no matter how much I talk it out, no matter what pills or drugs I take, I am kind of who I am. I can be my best self, but I am who I am. My kids can be better. My kids can be better. And we can provide an environment for them to become better. And I feel like that's what marriage is there for, really. So
I think marriage.
Take us home, Mel.
I've been learning more and more that who you partner with and all of the challenges that come up is really a mirror of what you need to acknowledge about yourself. It's not necessarily that it's exactly the same qualities that you also have, but there is something about what you see or what you experience when dealing with them that should force you to take account with yourself. What is this here to teach me about how I feel about myself, or how I look at love, or how I look at commitment, or whatever it is? And I think when you add children to the mix, it just increases 20 million fold, because I have never been so triggered as I have been by my own child.
Whoa.
So, I mean, it's just no one tells you that when you get pregnant. Nobody even gives you a little hint that your partner and your children are there to basically mirror every single way that you can improve your own life for the better. And I think the most challenging part is, can you step up to that? Can you step up to that while also
that is fantastic.
Being with other people? But it really has all, for me personally, been damn, that's a moment for me to take in and figure out, how do I address that so that I can be I can give, like you're saying, be of service. I can help teach my children a better way, and I don't just pass on my baggage. So, yeah,
we're gonna go ahead and leave that one right there. I feel like Mel tied that up perfectly in terms of that segment, in terms of our first impressions of that. Now, we had another topic that I was going to put on there in terms of Cappy, but you know what? I'm going to skip that because we're on a nice little marriage roll right now. Okay. I think we can go ahead and wrap our episode up with this one because I think this would be quick. And I think that Mel gave us a nice little segue into it to our children, helping us be our better selves. That's what she does. She's an actress. She's on cue. She can improvise. She's on her spot. I love it. I love everything about it.
She's going to be in a play now, a series of shows, like 10 shows or something like that. She's been going. I don't know where's it going to be held.
It's going to be here in Los Angeles at the Stella Adler Theater. It's going to run for maybe 4 or 5 weekends in October, however many we got in there. Yeah.
In our birthday month as well. Yeah, Isn't it a powerful time? I love it. All right. Let's go ahead and tie this up because I know everybody got stuff to do.
Indeed.
All right. This last particular segment is called Marriage Optional. Recent studies have shown that people are getting married less. They're having less children. What do you think about this particular cultural shift? What do you think is causing it? I know several people. She jumped right on in. She jumped right on in. All right, go ahead. You can lead us off. What do you think? What do you think is causing this shift?
I think a lot of it has to do with y'all have debt that we're dealing with, depending on where you're working or if you're working. The idea of partnering with someone and not being able to bring something to the table can sort of be a barrier. And then kids are expensive. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you guys, I know you're on the West Coast. We're on the East Coast. In a major city, you're thinking about the cost of housing, the cost of commuting, the cost of childcare. I mean, where we live, childcare before you hit 5 years old is just as expensive as college. Yeah. So, and if you don't feel that you're equipped to deal with that, then I can totally understand crossing marriage off of your.
Wow. All right. Well, hold on. Let me ask you a question.
That's very sobering.
Here is what the studies are showing, and here's also what I'm seeing because it's still a question. These people are still cohabitating. They're still sharing bills and living together. They're just not getting married. So they're still sharing that same expense. They're just not deciding to make the commitment. Let's go.
Like to have sex.
But you know what? Hey, hold on. I gotta say something though. In my experience, I have found that cohabitating with I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking about myself.
You gonna go there?
You've already started, man.
Cohabitating with somebody. Do these people have kids? These people still have kids?
Some have kids, some don't.
Because when you have kids are the best birth control. All right, that's all I can say about that. Is that the minute you have them, it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like if you want to have sex, you should be single and not live with anybody or live with roommates. You know what I mean? If sex is the object, I don't think. Sean, I'm just saying. I'm sorry. I got to challenge that.
I don't know.
On its merits. I got to challenge that on its merits.
I'm going to jump in. I didn't really mention this in the previous question, but I think back in the 80s when I was young, we had a completely ridiculous notion of marriage and romance and everything was gendered roles and all of that. And I think as society moves towards realizing that is essentially bullshit and that there is no standard, and that depending on who you are and where you are in your life, whether you've established yourself in your career or worked through your repressed traumas or, travel the world already or, whatever it is, as we begin to realize that we should all be aiming to be a whole person before we join with another whole person to then level up to just be one amazing unit of two whole people. I think people are realizing it's just a piece of paper. That really is my opinion. If I was not pregnant, I don't think we would be, I don't know that we would be married right now. We literally got married because of the pregnancy issue.
If we didn't have children, we would absolutely not be married. If we did not get pregnant. But I will say this. Because I believe in fate. And I believe that things happen the way they do
for a reason.
Yeah,
right.
I happen to think that this is the best case scenario for my life currently. You know what I mean? So I'm happy and I'm glad. That's why I can accept things being the way they are. You know, the fact I was a musician when I met Mel. I just come back from Europe. I had a very specific idea of where my life was going to go and what I wanted to accomplish and shit. And it was kind of like life was just like, fuck all of that.
Yeah, basically.
And instead, what you're gonna do is become like a digital producer at an advertising agency. Like what? What the fuck? What? Like that shit wasn't even on the menu when I showed up at the restaurant. I don't even know what this is.
There was many things I had in mind for my life. It was not what I do.
Yeah. So
I find that people now are getting married. I think people are getting married now because they really want to. In the sense that
I agree with you.
We now understand, okay, we don't have to get married to have sex, to Sean's point. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I feel like nowadays, the reason why maybe marriage rates are going down is because people are realizing if they don't really want that piece of paper or they don't want to spend, like $20,000 on a ceremony and the pressure of all that, and then you have this whole like say yes to the dress. I mean, it can become a lot about a lot of superficial things or romanticized idealistic things that don't always have a lot to do about the actual relationship, and it gives everyone an excuse to almost bypass the real work that needs to be done to make sure that you are being as close to a whole person as you can be before you partner with someone. So I'm gonna totally suspend my disbelief that people are delaying marriage because they're really trying to do it in a way that really helps them fulfill who they should be as individuals before they combine with someone else.
I just want to say very quickly also that when she talks like that, I'm like, that super turns me on. Like, that's why I'm with her, honestly, because I think she's
another baby's
I like
coming.
that.
You better watch that.
She's like my ideal chick. Like she's like super smart and like kind of punk rock, kind of rah rah. She's a little bit on the spectrum sexually, you know, like it's like
I love it. This is all what I was looking for right here. This is what I was looking for right here.
She challenges me intellectually because I'm a very interesting cat myself, and she challenges me, so I like that. And every once in a while she reminds me, like just now, and I'm like, damn, that's smart. That's super smart.
See, I'm with you, man. See, I got caught up. I got caught up in the rapture of everything in terms of that. I knew, and again, I realize that it's rare cases that you meet somebody. I knew I loved her, and I knew she was somebody that I didn't have a problem settling down with. I think I knew that probably within the first 2 to 3 months. I was absolutely intimidated by it. I was terrified. I had no idea what to do with those feelings. I didn't know how to process them. I mean, life really assaulted me. I mean, it just hit me and I didn't know what to do. But once I figured it out, it felt right. When we moved in together, that was kind of the ultimate test. I said, okay, it's one thing if we coexist all the time on the weekends or at different points, but let's really, really, get in there to where we're having to share a shower.
That's when I knew the band was over. That's when I knew our singing group was dead when you moved in.
That's when you knew right there. He said, y'all moving in together. And but I mean, within like the first week or two, I was good. I was comfortable. It felt right. So I had no problem with it. For me, I didn't even have a regret. Like I said, the only thing that kept me from being the aggressor in terms of the marriage was more so I just wanted to feel comfortable with being able to support us. Because again, I went from 1 to 3 children, and then eventually we ended up with 5. So we didn't stop. So I was comfortable. So I do think that in this day and age, the concepts around marriage have just kind of changed. I think that Mel is spot on in terms of what she's saying. People are just giving it more thought. They're thinking, and Yinka is what she's also spot on. They're just thinking more about it. I
Your
think
children
we
are photobombing you. I hope you know.
Yes.
One of them did.
What? You see what we deal with? You badasses.
I'm surprised our children haven't come in.
Yeah, because they're eating the pizza. But overall, bottom line for me, it was that's my youngest
that's
right
the
there. That's our baby.
Wait, that's the baby?
Right
I'm
there.
disgusted.
Yeah.
We make them big. Yeah, we make them big.
Our youngest is 17. We getting to be old.
What?
See, here's the cool thing. Yeah, that's right.
Oh
See,
my
here's
God,
the cool
it's
thing
been
about
10
us.
years?
They used to mess with us because we had 5 kids. They were like, "Oh my God, why'd y'all have 5 kids?" See, now I'll be 44 next month. She'll be 43. Now these these people are paying bills. These people are walking around doing stuff. We could just say, go get that box and take care of it. Everything good. Now people hating on us when we're in the grocery store. We got all kinds of help.
You now have a compound. You have a compound.
Yeah.
I'm so
We do.
confused.
We're good
You're
to
taking
go.
it back to
But
the
no.
motherland. You have a compound. That's what you now have.
But just to wrap all this good stuff up with all these wonderful energies that we've had on the phone, I think that we've covered what we saw in terms of when we first decided to get married. We kind of used our life influences to guide us in terms of how we deal with our marriage and what we're doing currently. And obviously, there's people in society who are taking a longer time period to think about going into marriage, and that's something to be considered. So I hope that we
Maybe
continue.
there's just less marriable people.
There's a lot. The world is full of
That
So
part.
Latrice's
Yeah.
perspective is that maybe
millennials. Like
that
you only have
suck.
millennials to date, it would be like pretty depressing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Maybe nobody wants to marry.
maybe millennials suck. That's why nobody's marrying their asses. That's just what
I'm
it
just
is.
saying.
You know?
I
That's just
manage
what it
them
is.
at work. I manage them at work. They don't seem to be. I don't know what they're doing.
They're not good
They don't
people.
seem to
They're
have
not
very many
good
clues.
Yeah,
They don't
not.
seem
You
Yeah,
sound
I
very
agree.
get off my lawnish right now.
It does. It does.
I'm settling
All
into
right.
it, my friend. I just.
All right, cool. I love it. I love
You
it.
can
All
only
right.
you can only sustain a cognitive dissonance for so long. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Anyway,
You ain't even wrong.
Al,
You ain't
sorry.
even
Go ahead,
wrong.
wrap it up, brother. Go ahead.
You good, bro? No, we're good. No, I just want to go ahead and wrap it up. And basically, I think that we've had a very good, productive conversation. And hopefully, we're going to pass along these conversations to our children, or they can hit play and hear our perspective and hear how crazy their parents are. All right. So, Big O, Yinka, won't you tell us where we can find you in terms of your social media spaces, your show, what you're doing in life, all that good stuff. Let's go.
Boom.
Well, the In the Black podcast is an intelligent podcast that's dedicated to covering the current events and social issues and hot topics going on in your black world, and covering it all from the perspective of 3 working class black men, fathers, family men, pretty much grown ass men with a whole bunch of bills to pay. This is our show manager here. She makes sure that everything runs the way it's supposed to run and how we move forward with things. But
Thank you.
we're out on wherever you can find podcasts. We're there. So check us out.
Right on.
All right, good. We appreciate y'all being on. We appreciate Yinka keeping our brother Big O in line, making sure that we did not have a sequel to the Bonnet Chronicles on this particular
You know what?
podcast.
Lord,
I will never let that go.
I can't vouch for what happens
When
the
I
next
see you, it's
time.
going to be trouble, boys.
I can't wait to meet you. All right, Mel, Yaze, tell the people where they can find you, what you're doing, and all that kind of good stuff. Let's go.
Mel, what do we do?
We have a podcast that we put out whenever the fuck we can get to it. And it's called
And you still listen to it.
Y'all do. I must say, congrats to Woke with Kids. They're doing their thing. Go ahead.
We trying. It's called Woke with Kids. And it's I like to say, our irreverent take on the news, politics, some pop culture. And sometimes our kids, interrupt because we got them. They are around.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on all the social media spaces under Woke with Kids, as well as our podcast being on all the places that podcasts are found.
Whoa.
So please check us out. And tune in.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Yeah, man. What she said.
All right.
Yeah.
All right,
One thing I want to add, it's World Afro Day, and I just want to shout out Yinka's afro.
I do
Because
love
the
that.
girls
It
are
is.
Beautiful.
Anyway, I just have to say that.
I love it. I want you to keep moving forward.
Oh, God.
I thought of that just now. All right.
Wait.
Trees,
We all
tell them
know.
where they can find you.
I'm a housewife, so you can find me on Instagram doing housewife shit.
Housewife
Shout out to housewife shit.
Hashtag
Yes,
housewife
indeed.
shit. Yeah.
And our shirts do say best buds. We
Best
just want to be
buds.
clear.
Awesome.
Wow,
All right,
y'all are
cool.
disgusting.
In terms of
Oh
my, in
my
terms
guys
of my-
disgust me.
God,
I love
that
you.
is
We
so
do.
adorable.
I
We
love
do.
you so
All right, you
much.
can find our podcast, We Come From Bad News, on all places you listen to podcasts, SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, all that good stuff. Please check out our Facebook page where we are broadcasting this live, or we were broadcasting this live, one of the two.
We are.
Definitely subscribe to our vibes, subscribe to Woke with Kids, subscribe to In the Block Podcast. You can catch me on Instagram, Algernon's October. You can catch me on Twitter, AlGiddy1712, and you can just catch us every week doing what we do. We appreciate y'all being here for episode 50. We appreciate our guests. We We appreciate life, peace, blessings, all that stuff.
Bye. Good night, everybody.
Take care.
Shopping